4 3 2 1. لطالما اعتبرت العلاقات الإسرائيلية الأمريكية بأنها أحد أهم ركائز الأمن القومي الإسرائيلي، بيد أنه في الأسابيع الأخيرة تزداد المؤشرات على فجوات وتباين في المواقف بين رئيس الحكومة بنيامين نتنياهو والرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب. لفهم دلالات هذا التباعد وكيفية انعكاس هذا على إسرائيل تحديدا، نستضيف معنا اليوم السفير الإسرائيلي الأسبق لدى الولايات المتحدة السيد داني أيالون، والذي أشغل أيضا مناصب مختلفة بينها نائب وزير الخارجية الإسرائيلية. أهلا بك سيد
أهلا
داني.
وسهلا.
إذا دعنا نبدأ بمذكرة التفاهم بين الولايات المتحدة وإيران. هل برأيك هذه المذكرة والاتفاق لاحقا سيصون اهتمامات إسرائيل الأمنية والتحديات الأمنية المتعلقة بإسرائيل؟
The memorandum of understanding signed so far, and it's not the end of the deal yet, but still, as it is now, if it continues like that, it does not serve the interest of the region, it does not serve the interest of Israel. I don't think it serves the interest of the United States or the international community. Why? Because after a very, very impressive military operation, which actually show to the world how vulnerable and how weak Iran is militarily, still they retain all the assets they had before the war, namely the nuclear infrastructure, the ballistic missile infrastructure, and more than before, they do have a much stronger relations with the Hezbollah. That means keeping Lebanon under their fingerprints. That means today Lebanon is held hostage by this memorandum of understanding, and Iran is calling the shots over there. And we know that the Iranians, they do not care fighting until the last Arab, as far as they are concerned, with their proxies, whether it's the Houthis, whether it's the Hamas, whether it's the Hezbollah. So all these things are still not resolved. It is true that these are going to be discussed in the next 60 days until some agreement, a full agreement is signed. But meanwhile, the pressure of Iran is out, and we know that the Iranians, when there is no immediate pressure.
سنصل إلى إيران مرة أخرى، لكن أنت ذكرت لبنان هنا وتستوقفني الحالة التي تتواجد فيها إسرائيل حاليا. من ناحية الرئيس الأمريكي يقول إن هنالك وقف لإطلاق النار، من ناحية ثانية رئيس الحكومة الإسرائيلية يقول إن هنالك كل الحق للجنود في جنوبي لبنان من أجل حماية أنفسهم ومن أجل الدفاع عن دولة إسرائيل. كيف لدولة إسرائيل أن تتماشى بين هذين التناقضين، من ناحية ضغوطات أمريكية لوقف إطلاق النار، من ناحية ثانية مصالح أمنية كما يقولها رئيس الحكومة من أجل الاستمرار في العملية العسكرية؟
I think the bottom line is whether Hezbollah will continue breaches of this ceasefire, whether it will continue to fire, whether it will continue to ambush or try to ambush Israeli soldiers, whether it will continue to position itself in such a way with rockets and missiles and drones that they can attack Israel. They should not do that. If they do that, Israel has the right for self-defense. Now, in the memorandum of understanding, and we hear that, you hear different interpretations from the Americans, from the Iranians. This is what we call in diplomacy a constructive ambiguity. In order to sign, each side may see different things. But
وهذا يجعل الفجوة أكبر للتصادم لاحقا، أليس كذلك؟
Yes, but the importance is what is happening on the ground. So in that respect, Israel does have the right for self-defense, and if they see a threat emanating from Hezbollah, Israel will react. There is no question about that.
وهنا بالفعل التفسيرات واسعة مثل ما تفضلت، لكن دعنا نعود بالفعل إلى العلاقات الإسرائيلية الأمريكية. نتنياهو ركز اهتمامه على الجمهوريين وعلى ترامب بصورة خاصة. كيف برأيك تضررت العلاقات الآن بعد هذا التباعد بين إسرائيل وبين الولايات المتحدة؟
Well, as a former Israeli ambassador in Washington who was very much working on a bipartisan support for Israel, it has been very, very strong for Israel. The, I would say the policy and conduct of Netanyahu is, I think, it's a mistake. I think since 2015, actually, he actually moved away from bipartisan support to put all his eggs on the Republican Party. We saw it when he went to the Congress against the will of President Obama. We saw how he tried to actually go against the JCPOA, the agreement that Obama reached in 2015. Well, he didn't do that. He didn't succeed in derailing the JCPOA on the one hand, and on the other hand, he really, I would say, hurt very much the relationship with the Democrats. And then came 2016, where he was very much leaning towards the Republican against the Democrat. Same thing was in 2020, when he again supported Trump against Biden, and all this leads to a real rift between Republicans and Democrats on the issue of Israel, something that has never been before. Republicans and Democrats always saw differently.
صحيح، وكيف هذا يؤثر على إسرائيل؟
At this point, it doesn't, because the Republicans have all the power. So we continue to enjoy a very good relationship, politically, strategically, economically, and of course, militarily. This will continue. I believe that when we look at the history of the relationship and we look at the scope of the geopolitics and the changes in the world and here in the Middle East, it is still within the American interests, whether it's Republican or Democrat, to continue and cooperate with Israel. And I believe to a certain extent, it will continue. But if we see a change, and it bounds to be a change, and we'll see a Democrat in the White House, I think we will have to do a lot of backpedaling. Israel will.
لكن سيد أيالون، يعني حتى قبل عودة الديمقراطيين إلى البيت الأبيض، في صفوف الجمهوريين هنالك الكثير ممن يواجهون انتقادات لسياسة إسرائيل ونتنياهو.
Absolutely. So we see, and this is the danger when you put all your fortunes on one side. You leave the other side, you cannot hedge, you don't have any, let's say, cushions or defenses against extreme positions. And after Netanyahu, and it's not Israel, it's Netanyahu who lost the Democrats, yes, within this last war, he also lost part of the Republicans. Absolutely. So this is something that is very short-sightedness by the government of Israel under Netanyahu, and it will have to be corrected, and it will be corrected by the next government of Israel.
طيب السفير أيالون، كيف تفسر هذا التحول في موقف الرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب؟ في البداية كان هنالك دعم كبير حتى فيما يتعلق بمحاكمة نتنياهو في البلاد، وطالب بأن يتم إلغاء هذه المحاكمة ووقف إلى يمين نتنياهو، إلا أنه في الأسابيع الأخيرة هنالك تحول. ما هو تفسيرك لهذه المسألة؟ وأنت بالفعل يعني كنت سفير في الولايات المتحدة وتعلم خبايا الأمور هناك.
I think to say it very shortly, I think it's because of lack of success or the perception of lack of success. If you look at the first operation last year, the 12 days war, Donald Trump supported all the way Israel. And in the last few days, he even joined Israel. And then he took credit for this great operation, which was very important. On the second operation, the 40 days war, in this case, the expectation was too high to bring down the regime, to take out the entire infrastructure, nuclear infrastructure, and ballistic missiles, and so on and so forth. This did not happen in the 40 days. It should have taken more. So I think there was a mistake here to abruptly stop without getting any concessions from the Iranians after the 40 days. Once there was a ceasefire, the Iranians could really have their day, and what they do best is negotiations. as Trump himself said, that they are better negotiators than fighters. So I think it's I would say, lack of understanding that a campaign like that should take more than just 40 days and should have more means to be deployed. Not all the means have been deployed militarily. Mm-hmm. And I think that it was a lot of pressure from within. We mentioned the Republican Party. Some in the Republican Party, I believe, pressured very much Trump to stop at that point without understanding the real consequences and the far-reaching, let's say, influence and the change in the region. Mm-hmm. And this, together with outside pressure from Qatar, from Turkey, from Pakistan, brought about a change of heart in Trump, because Trump is used to quick victories. When it wasn't a victory, then he was just abandoning this strategy. And I think this is why we see a totally different approach, and it is very easy for Trump to blame Netanyahu for everything. When there is a success, Trump takes it as his success.
مثل ما حدث في حرب الاثني عشر يوما عندما تم قصف منشآت نووية. لكن هل برأيك هذا التباين والتباعد بين نتنياهو وترامب يبعد إسرائيل عن اتخاذ القرار، أو دعنا نقول ما هي قدرة إسرائيل في التدخل في القرارات المتعلقة في إيران، في لبنان، في سوريا على سبيل المثال؟
Well, when it comes to Israel's security and vital interests, Netanyahu will not be able to go along under some dictates that may harm Israel. He will not be able to do it, first of all, because of public opinion here, and secondly, because of his cabinet and his ministers who would not approve for that. So he is limited by that. On the other hand, he has elections here, and if he is seen as a pawn of Trump, this will hurt him in the election. On the other hand, there is elections also in the United States, the midterm elections, and this is also a reason, I believe, why Trump did not want to go into the midterm when the war in Iran was not decisively closed. So at this point, I think it is a very, very much a limbo where there is still a lot of things which are not determined, not foreseen, and I believe we may see again a totally different landscape after elections in the United States, after elections in Israel. So there are many turns this situation can go.
لكن هذا بطبيعة الحال يعتمد على قدرة الولايات المتحدة وإيران في التوصل إلى اتفاق بعد 60 يوما. إذا كان هنالك فشل ربما الصورة ستكون مختلفة، أقصد فشل في التوصل إلى اتفاق بين طهران وبين واشنطن.
Exactly. And again here, Iran is very capable of miscalculation. And if indeed they will not abide by the commitments that they have undertaken in the MOU, or they will not be more, I would say, more cooperative in this agreement of up to the next 60 days, certainly everything can go back to square one. And by that time, I think it will be more legitimate for Trump to resume a war if the Iranians do not abide by their commitments. And here we hear different things. The Iranians said no, they will not take the enriched uranium out, or if they will, they will continue to enrich, and many other things. If this line of the Iranians and conduct will continue, then I think it's inevitable that they will be under more military attacks.
طيب إذا ما عدنا إلى المشهد الإقليمي وما تحدث عنه ترامب بأن سوريا ربما ستكون أفضل في محاربة حزب الله أو عناصر حزب الله من إسرائيل، ما هو تقييمك مدى جدية مثل هذا المقترح؟
I think this idea is dead on arrival for many reasons. First of all, Al-Julani said already he doesn't want to do it. It has some logic because the Sunnis in Syria have been massacred by Hezbollah. So they would like to get back at Hezbollah, Giuliani, but I don't think he has the capacity. First of all, Giuliani has to put his own house in order before he can go and take more responsibility in other countries. So this is something that will not go. I think also the Lebanese government will not allow it because they still remember how Syria, Assad, was taking over Lebanon, and that was not to the benefit of the Lebanese. So I think nobody wants it. Israel doesn't want
إذن
it.
لماذا اقترح مثل هذا الأمر الرئيس الأمريكي؟
Well, we know that he is thinking a lot out of the box. I think Trump is trying to throw different balls into the air to see what can catch, what cannot, and this was one of the balls which does not catch.
طيب سؤال أخير السيد أيالون، أنت خدمت لمدة سنوات كسفير إسرائيل في واشنطن، هل برأيك العلاقات الإسرائيلية الأمريكية الآن تمر بأكثر المراحل حرجا في تاريخ البلدين، وما هو مستقبل هذه العلاقات؟
Yes, well, first of all, yes. I think right now the relations between Israel and the United States are the worst I have ever seen or remembered. From here, we can only go up. And we will go up. Again, part of the problem is this government of Netanyahu. Netanyahu himself is seen as very extremist, as someone who was dragging Trump into the war. He has very, very radical ministers like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, which hurt Israel's image and foreign relations all over the world, also in the United States. So again, I think we will have a clean slate. A new government can build back on the old relationship. Everything is reversible, and in that respect, I think there are so many things in common that bind Israel and the United States into a natural allies. These things are now not being seen because of all the noise. But again, we will have to see a different government with different policies, and then the relationship will go back to what they used to be.
السيد داني أيالون سفير إسرائيل الأسبق لدى الولايات المتحدة ونائب وزير الخارجية الإسرائيلية، شكرا جزيلا لك على هذه المقابلة.
شكرا.